Correct me if I'm wrong, but when I used to think of flexing on old people, I used to cringe at the thought. It's not called flexing, it's called being a dick. See an old guy barely able to walk with a walker and you just like do handstands and cartwheels in front of him? Dick move, not a flex. You see an old guy eating yogurt because he lost his teeth at this point and you just like start chomping on a bag of chips or start eating vats of ice cream in front of a diabetic? That is not flexing, that is being a dick. Or well, I guess it's the variant of flexing of the dick variety, if I were to be more scientifically accurate. But now, thanks to a recent internet fad, I have begun viewing flexing on old people in an entirely different light and in the badass variant of flexing. The baby boomers are the generation born between 1946 and 1964, and they have recently started getting the nickname boomers. I think it's cute, I think it's funny, but it got really better when some older individual is telling you what to do, and you don't even want to argue with their points, why their points are so flawed. Instead, you just say, okay, boomer, completely invalidating any argument they throw your way with this single phrase alone. It has become so irritating to some people, talk show hosts have come together to say that it's ageist. You've heard of racist before and you've heard of sexist before, but boomer is the first N-word equivalent for ageism. That's right, that's now a thing apparently. Yes, they were called out by, the dictionary on Twitter, and I mean literally the dictionary called them out saying, how could dare you compare boomers with the N-word? And I think that's pretty hilarious that, well, the dictionary flexed on an individual. Very cool dictionary, very cool. But okay boomer has become such a powerful retort, invalidating the entire argument without actually needing to destroy it bit by bit. I wanted to look at the greatest boomers in anime. Now obviously they won't be born between 1946 and 1964 because, well, that's not how the years work there. But in that age range, when they're completely slapped with an okay boomer, that's what we're talking about here today. Mostly because I want to, and not at all because it's something you asked for. Sorry fam, but also you're welcome. Definitely like and subscribe for more epic Nuxinor in the future. Now let's talk about some anime boomers. When I thought of this topic, the first thing that came to mind was the second Hokage from Naruto. I like to call him the second Hokage because it annoys more people, and therefore that is what I shall do. The second Hokage is such a boomer. This guy's pissed off at the Uchiha clan because of their long past history fighting each other, even when they form an alliance and a village together, where their children are playing together and where their families are marrying one another. This dude still had it in for them. I personally think he's probably my second favorite Hokage as well, just because he's freakingly well written, even though he's barely around. But then again, I like psychopath criminals, so that's not exactly a quantifiable measurement in the second Hokage's defense. This dude goes around blasting the Uchihas and somehow manages to get elected as Hokage because it's not a democracy in the Leaf Village. It's just run by these three elder dudes who are all biased to the Senju clan, and well, they're also sort of boomers, but not for today. Despite the fact that this guy is blasting the Uchiha at every turn, politically speaking, he gets power and continues to almost quarantine the Uchihas into their own district where they don't have any political power. And even though in the second Hokage's lifetime nothing actually happened, the series itself says, okay, boomer, and proceeds to cause this massive rebellion within the Uchiha clan that they want to go ahead, cause a coup d'etat, and massacre the entire Leaf Village. Yeah, not exactly the coolest move of the second Hokage there either, but then of course Itachi goes to his dad Fugaku and says, hey Fugaku, okay boomer, you want to cause a massive rebellion? Well, unfortunately, the entire Uchiha clan proceeds to get massacred. Not exactly a great move on your part. I don't exactly see what you were hoping to accomplish, but hey, that's boomers for you. There's so much of this okay boomer attitude in Naruto, I can't stop loving it. I'm gonna have to move on from Naruto because I don't want that to be the entire focus of the video. Oh, the third Hokage died and we need a new Hokage? Let's get Jiraiya, a sexual deviant who abandoned the village in every single one of its time of needs. Well, he'd make a perfect Hokage. Okay, boomer, that's not gonna work. Oh, I know. Then let's get Tsunade. She's a self-absorbed, drunk, and also a gambler that always loses her bets. She'll be a perfect addition to the Leaf Village's arsenal of tremendously awesome leaders. Okay, boomer. The first Hokage comes along and he's like, oh, I've amassed all the tailed beasts and now there's world peace. Let's give out the tailed beast to all the other nations so that everyone will be happy with themselves and there will be no more wars. Okay, Boomer! There proceeds to be many, many more wars. I love this Okay, Boomer thing. It's so fun. In Code Geass, my third favorite anime of all time, this ultimate mastermind, Charles Z. Britannia, essentially leaves the entire world to its own devices in this massive war because he's off doing his own projects, whatever, because he kind of feels like it's cool and he wants to do that. Now, that's pretty nice and all, but when he tells Lelouch at the finale of his character arc, "This was my plan all along! It was to do all these really awesome things that don't really make sense! Join me on this only path to happiness!" And then Lelouch turns to him and says, "Okay, Boomer," and proceeds to mind control God to obliterate his dad. Yes, this actually happens, and it was amazing. That was like the biggest Okay, Boomer moment of all time. After this entire massive strategy and speech by Charles, he just got Okay Boomered really damn quickly. Speaking of daddy issues, in Fairy Teru, there's a family with Makarov, the grandpa, Ivan, the dad, and Loxus, the son. At the very end, Makarov's like, "All right, I'm gonna use my remaining life force to use fairy law and destroy the bad guys." And he uses it, destroys a lot of bad guys, and he used his remaining life force, so he's dead, right? And then, plot armor comes along and it's like, "Okay, Boomer, we're not gonna let you sacrifice yourself." You think you're gonna die in Fairy Tail? No one dies in Fairy Tail. And his son obviously had a lot of the same genes. Ivan had like all these crazy, ridiculous plans. He formed his guild Raventail, which is not at all meant to mimic Fairy Tail. And he had this whole diabolical scheme to take over the Fairy Tail Guild and humiliate it. They're in the Grand Magic Games, and they're up against each other, and they are in the darkness, sinisterly laughing the entire goddamn time. All is going according to our plan. And then eventually, Loxus is challenged by one of the Raventail guys, and there was this whole massive illusion, and he actually had to go up against all 5 of them at the same time, and he was totally outmatched, and he had no chance, and Ivan's like, "Listen, Loxus, not only do you have no chance, but really you should join me. I have been kicked out of the Fairy Tail Guild because your grandpa is a total douche face. In fact, you too have been kicked out of the Fairy Tail Guild for a certain point of time, also because your grandpa is a douche face. Now, because of all of these myriad of reasons that I am about to explain to you, I think you should betray Fairy Tail and join us, and if not, we're gonna kill you with our 5 dudes." And then Loxus is like, "Okay, Boomer." Not only does he negate the entire character development of Ivan by saying, "Yeah, all of your character development and background story and interesting history that you mentioned to me right now, I'm gonna snuff you out of the entire Fairy Tail story in like 3 seconds," without even disproving or disagreeing with any of your integral philosophical arguments that made you an interesting character. He Okay Boomered him so hard, we never heard of the guy again. He not only shuts down his argument with an Okay Boomer, but proceeds to wipe out his entire guild with brute force, even though he was outnumbered. This was a massive Okay Boomer moment, and Loxus deserved it very, very much. Konosuba has a few of these as well. In case you didn't know, Konosuba is one of my favorite isekai anime, trapped in another world anime. And Darkness is one of the harem members of Kazuma, the protagonist. She gets called back by her daddy because her daddy wants her to marry some really posh knight dude who happens to just be like a genuinely nice guy. Like in the beginning, you think he's some posh knight dude like, "Oh no, La Latina," otherwise known as Darkness, is gonna have to marry this total dick. But no, the guy's just genuinely a really nice guy. He's polished. It's true, he's fancy, he's rich, but he also cares about other people, he's empathetic, etc., etc., etc. And Darkness is like, no, because she's a masochist and a very strange, yet somehow very likable character, says Kazuma is the one that's gonna marry me. You know, that peasant over there that's a total loser and also somewhat of a Nimrod? He is the right choice. And the father's like, "No, you must marry a noble. And also, this noble will care for you. He has etiquette. He has prestige. He would never harm a woman." And Darkness says, "Okay, Boomer." Kazuma's much better because he is a true advocate of gender equality. He would drop kick any man or woman if they deserve it, and he would also humiliate them. And then she proceeds to list all of her really weird sexual fantasy kinks that we will not get into at this point in time, mostly because it's No Nut November. That was a lie. It's mostly just because I don't want to talk about it. And her dad's like, "But La Latina, your future," proceeds to list many reasons why her future would be better off with Night Guy, and she says, "Okay, Boomer," proceeds to basically get naked and run off with Kazuma. Hell yeah, Konosuba logic for the win. absolute mad lad. Konosuba has another one of these epic logics also. At the end of the first season, there's about to be this massive explosion, so they managed to rig some sort of teleportation spell to teleport the explosion to a very far distance that happens to be random. Of course, it's the royal capital, because like, duh, it's not going to be in the middle of mostly an uninhabited land. This is way funnier. In case I didn't mention to you yet, you should totally watch Konosuba. It's goddamn hilarious. I love it so much. And then, of course, Kazuma, the protagonist, is in court because, you know, he blew up a very important city. And the argument pretty much went as follows. On the prosecution side, Kazuma should be imprisoned or executed because he teleported a massive explosion to the capital, killed many people, and, like, destroyed the city, and, you know, not cool stuff. And does the defendant have anything to say? And, of course, his witnesses / lawyers are his harem of absolute nutcases. And they're all just like, okay, boomer! Yeah, it didn't work out that well that time. Whatever, not gonna spoil for you how he got out of it, but it was goddamn amazing. I love the okay boomer logic, because it doesn't even have to be right. Sometimes the boomers are right, but it's just as fun to say okay boomer. It is so smart. It is so goddamn smart. I'm getting way too much of a kick out of this meme. In One Piece, Blackbeard killed a member of Whitebeard's crew and started running away. And that's when Ace said to Whitebeard, alright Pops, I'm gonna chase after Blackbeard and take him down, finally serving him justice. Whitebeard's like, I wouldn't do that if I were you. He just killed a really important dude, and he's very strong. He will probably, you know, beat you in a fight if you actually beat him. I advise you not to. And since I am not only older and wiser, but your commanding officer and also potential father, please listen to me and don't chase him. To which Ace immediately replies with the brilliant and very eloquent, okay, boomer, and proceeds to just chase Blackbeard anyway, and just proves Whitebeard 100% right with all of his hypotheses. The boomer was right, but the okay boomer argument was sound. Very cool, Ace. Very cool. Remember when Aizen picked up the Hokyoku and became like stupidly invincibly strong and was like, yo, now that I'm stupidly invincibly strong with like the most broken power-up of all time, and the only reason why I actually lose my fight is because subconsciously I didn't want to win and the Hokyoku read my subconscious mind to make me lose. And now that I am so strong, I can tell you, Ichigo, you foolish boy, that I have in fact laid everything in your life in front of you. I have pitted every opponent that you've ever faced against you at perfectly incremented levels of power for you to grow to become your absolute strongest since you had the most potential of all. So now, because you had the most potential and because you had the greatest training regimen of all time, fully devised by me, you are the strongest person in the world. So you're perfect for me to test my power against when I defeat you. And that's when Ichigo says, oh, you planned my whole life out behind me? Everything was part of your master plan? Okay, boomer! And then proceeds to slap the schnizzle out of Aizen. Yes, the flex is huge. Yes, they've talked about it in the past, but I'd like to say, in particular, now. Do you realize Ichigo didn't even bat an eye when Aizen said, I planned out your entire life before you? Like, Aizen literally set up his dad and mom together to form a hybrid Quincy Hollow baby, and then proceeded to plan every goddamn step of his freaking life. But Ichigo's just like, okay, boomer. Not even giving it a second thought. It's like, okay, cool, I don't care. Whatevs. How is this not questioned? How is this not argued against? No, I also had free will. I have done these things because I am in fact a noble protagonist, twat. No, none of that. It was just like an okay, boomer, let's fight, I'm gonna wreck you. And it was great. In Maiden Abyss, which is also one of my favorite anime, there's this massive chasm in the middle of the ground, and it goes deep, God knows how far. And, you know, stupid 10-year-old schnook kid is like, I'm gonna go to the bottom, even though it's, like, super dangerous, and most people don't make it past, like, level 2 or 3. And all the adults are like, I know that you want to go to the bottom because you got a letter saying, hey, come to the bottom. But, you know, you're probably gonna die at level 2 or 3. I would highly advise you don't do that. In fact, I'm gonna make sure you don't by telling you all these really horrible and gruesome things. Not only that, and not only is it illegal, but there are goddamn adults everywhere. I'm adult, I was commanded by an adult, and there are adult peoples that you will inevitably run into in this abyss. And when you do, and you're dying, and they're trying to save you, please take them up on their help advice. And the absolute mad lad proceeds to say, okay, boomer! And she ventures in the abyss anyway, and she gets attacked by literally everything. And she meets some older guys that's like, oh, this is extremely dangerous, let me escort you back up. And she says, oh, okay, boomer! And proceeds to go deeper. Every warning sign given along the way got smacked by an immediate okay okay boomer. Definitely a very strong argument on their part. I just have to make sure you understood that point. In My Hero Academia, at the beginning of season 3, Bakugo was captured by the League of Villains. In case you don't know, the League of Villains is goddamn terrorists that are the most wanted people in the world, though. They're extremely dangerous, and all of the top heroes don't know what they're gonna do about the situation. So, of course, a couple of students in their first year of high school are like, hell yeah, we can take them. Let's go break into the terrorist hideout, break out our friends, and everything will be hunky-dory with no casualties along the way. Obviously, all the teachers, all the older students, and, you know, the entire universe collectively says, guys, don't do that. It's actually a really terrible idea. To which our hunky-dory group of students are like, okay, boomers, and proceeds to just, like, break into the hideout and goddamn do their thing. And yes, they would have all been absolutely annihilated if it wasn't for a very nice, happy coincidence that the pro heroes stormed the place at the same goddamn time. The boomers were right, but the okay boomer logic was sound. But of course, you know, this is high school and it's anime and it's shonen, so it's like, oh yeah, they actually did save the day. And they actually did save the day. Very good life lessons you're teaching to children around the world, Master My Hero Academia. Very cool. Then now kids are like, alright, next time the adults tell me not to do something because it's extremely goddamn stupid and also very, very ignorant. Just slap him with an okay boomer, do it anyway, it'll work out totally fine. Thank you, My Hero Academia, for really showering us with the life lessons our generation really needs. I really appreciate the time and thought that went into this moment and all of the recourse that presumably has taken place after this event transpired. But stupid decision or not, can we just focus on how beautiful the okay boomer was? Like, all the arguments and reasons for them not to do what they did were just totally okay boomer, thrown to the side, and they actually managed to save the day. Probably thanks to karma telling them how great of an okay boomer it was, because that's how karma works. And I have a few mentions that are not exactly from anime that I wanted to talk about anyway, just because they're like so perfectly fitting into this genre. And like, if you like this video and you want me to do another one, I guess maybe potentially I will, because it was a lot of fun to put together. But since I'm not sure that will happen, I do want to mention a few pretty hilarious boomer moments in animation that are not anime. And also, let's just say if this gets 80,000 likes, I will be doing Biggest Boomers in Anime Part 2. So smash like, because why the F not? In Avatar The Last Airbender, Prince Zuko, who is, by the way, like one of the greatestly written characters with one of the best developed character arcs of all time. His character arc can be summed up in 2 words, and they're okay boomer. He starts off the story with his uncle Iroh, who's the best character in Avatar The Last Airbender, arguably, at least in my opinion, and my opinion is right, so not even arguably. The logic is sound. And he's been giving Prince Zuko freaking selfless advice the entire goddamn journey, and to every single piece of advice Zuko's given, his response is, okay, boomer, and proceeds to not listen. No matter how deep and philosophical the advice is, they just completely get okay boomered. 2 seasons later, he's like, oh wait, actually, Uncle Iroh is the best character in the entire show. I should actually start listening to everything he has to say. And that's when Iroh decides now's the time to not tell Zuko anything, because, you know, Zuko actually needs to not be a bitch his entire life and make his own decisions, sort of. And then he turns to Ozai, his dad, and he's like, oh, you want me to work for you? You want me to just be your puppet? You want me to just obey every single order you tell me? You want me to capture the Avatar for you, and you want me to be your puppet? For many very logical reasons that Zuko's been actually chasing the entirety of the show. Well, okay, boomer, time to redirect lightning in your face. Zuko's storyline for the entirety of the series was okay boomer, and it was still the best written character arc potentially ever. Just saying. In Teen Titans, there is a villain named Mad Mod, and this man is the embodiment of okay boomer. He's a guy who's old, who just develops these crazy wacky machines to try to steal the Titans' youth, and the Titans just okay boomer him. He completely wrecks how they see things, telling them again and again why their generation is absolute suckage, and they just answer with okay boomer and proceed to kick his butt. Mad Mod is one of my favorite villains in Teen Titans. He is freaking hilarious, and he is also an embodiment of the okay boomer meme in how he's dealt with. I just had to mention him in this video. I couldn't go about making a video about okay boomer as a retort and not talk about Mad Mod from Teen Titans. And the final okay boomer situation that I wanted to talk about is in Scooby-Doo. You know, they're a bunch of teenagers solving mysteries and stuff, and after every single one, the bad guy's like, and I would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for you meddling kids and that dumb dog. To which the gang replies, okay, Boomer. I mean, literally every single one of the mysteries in Scooby-Doo, it's like, okay, so there are 5 new characters introduced. 3 are very bland. 1 is the nicest guy ever, and 1 seems evil. Well, it turns out the one that seems evil is gonna be some secretly super nice dude, and the nicest dude ever is gonna be the one that's wearing a mask terrorizing the city. And then he explains like this whole reasoning about how he was actually the one that was being tortured his entire life, and they're like, okay, Boomer. Extremely cool, Scooby-Doo. Extremely cool. Thank you so much for watching this video. I don't know why I decided to go ahead and make it. Probably because, well, I thought it would be a funny concept, and if I do say so myself, it was. Smash like on the video. 80K, and the next one will be out within a week. That's right, Boomers 2 will be out in a week if you get this bad boy to 80K likes. Subscribe if you're interested in other content, whatever the hell I decide to slap together. I just have a good time with this stuff. Let me know in the comments future videos you'd like, and also maybe hit that bell to get notified when the next video arrives. Link in the description to my Twitter, Twitch, Patreon, subreddit, and merch. Feel free to pick up or join or follow whatever the hell you want over there. The description is now yours for the taking. Have yourselves the most wonderful evening, and remember to always counter logical arguments with absolute stupidity to stump your opponents. Nux Logic 101. Remember to stay weird, fam.